Good morning, students. Welcome to this Friday in my home studio. My name is Annie from MP, Mindful Palette Movement Practitioner, Milwaukee Proud. This morning's class is again brought to you by the Rec Department. I am appreciative of their support to help bring these classes to you, so I'm glad that we can stay connected here. This is yoga for runners. So as I always promise, a few different components of this practice. This is one of the more intense practices that I teach during the week, while there's still a way for those who are at a beginner level to participate. You don't have to be a runner to be part of this practice. But if you are, what I try to focus on is certainly getting into stretching those muscles that we might use for running. So maybe you had a run this morning already and you're ready to do your cool down stretches. I also want to work on the core, so having a strong runner's core. Getting into different planes of the body. So, we can run all day going, forward like this and backwards, but getting into different planes so we can open up those hips and even stretch into the shoulders a little bit. And then the fourth component is building lung capacity. So I will offer you some pranayama or mindful breathing exercises that allow you to spend some time with breath retention to build that lung capacity. So those are the four pieces of my Yoga for Runners class. All right, so we're going to start today on our blocks. So if you have some props, they don't have to exactly be yoga blocks, but that could be helpful if you have something of that sort. Otherwise, a bolster, a pillow, especially for this beginning hip opener that we're going to do, or not hip opener, hip flexor stretch. And then a strap, a tie, or a belt if you wish. Again, that might be more optional today, but you might find that you want it. So we can keep this to the side. So we're going to start by lying on our backs. If you were at my bedtime yoga class last night, we did this stretch for the hip flexors. So bringing that block underneath the sacrum, so that's that space between the lower back and the tailbone, back of the hips, let's say, back of the pelvis rather. Just placing that block there. Now this block, we have an opportunity to take this block to different levels if you want a deeper stretch. So you could take this block to level 2. So what we're doing here is starting to stretch into these hip flexors here. So if that's too much, especially for the very beginning here, we haven't warmed up our spine or really, started to move so much. Maybe this is your first big movement of the day. So you could start out a little bit lower with that block, but again, starting to stretch here through those hip flexors, create some length. So once you find what would be a good place for you to begin, and maybe it means no block, maybe that's not for you this morning, just settle into your mat. You might even take those knees up here in more of a supported bridge. So again, you decide what would feel good for you as we center here in our practice this Friday morning. Maybe you want to rest those hands on the belly, broaden those shoulders a little bit. Take some deep breaths. You can even let it out through the mouth. Take a big sigh, see where that leads you in terms of resetting your breathing as we begin. And start to notice that breath. Notice the length of the inhalation and the exhalation. Can you make them equal? Do you imagine a path for your breath as it travels through your body? Is it a straight line up and down? Or do you imagine it being sort of an orbit that goes around in a circle from front to back or the other way? Whatever visual allows you to draw your attention to that breath, find that now. And then when you're ready, I invite you to set an intention for your practice this morning. What is it that you need on this Friday, this end of the week? Maybe you're not practicing this, you're not doing this practice on a Friday. Maybe you're watching it at another time. So wherever you are in the course of your week, what do you need right now? Letting go of expectations for what you might do in this practice or in this day. Letting things unfold, listening to your body, Let that intention sink in. And then if it feels okay, you can stay there on that block. If that's starting to be a little too much for the back or those hip flexors, you can slowly lift up those hips and just place that block to the side. And then again, maybe you want to ground that lower back more by bringing those knees to bend. Wherever you are, let's bring those hands back to the belly for our first pranayama. This is our 4-7-8 breath. It's a good breath to help us through anxiety or even insomnia if you struggle with that in the evenings or during the night rather. But it's also one with breath retention. So we're going to inhale on that next inhalation. Breathe in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold that breath here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then let that breath out slowly through a straw for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale through that straw. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take 2 more rounds of that 4-7-8 breath at your own pace. Maybe you want to really slow down those counts, really get into that breath retention even more. So wherever you are, take your time. When you're finished, pull those knees into the chest and just rock it out, massaging that sacrum. And we'll all pull those knees into the chest, rock back and forth. And then extend those arms and legs to the 4 corners of the mat. Get really big here. Breathe in. Exhale, curl into that ball. Let it go. Bring that chin towards the knees. Take this 3 times. Inhale again, expand. Maybe you hover those arms and legs, challenging the core. Exhale, curl up. One more time, get really big. Breathe in, expand here. And then exhale, let's contract. Keeping those knees pulled in. We'll start to rock along the length of the spine. You could cross those ankles, take a few rocks, eventually making your way up to a tabletop position. And I'm just going to flip around so that I don't know, there's something with my brain. I like to have the person on this side of me. Perhaps I need to get over that. But I'm switching around so you can stay right where you have landed. And then I'm going to move into my cat-cow here from my tabletop position. So I have hips over knees. I have my wrists, elbows, shoulders stacked. And I'm just neutralizing that spine. So from here, we can dip that belly down, lift the chin and the tailbone, breathe in, and let that out. Just move at your own pace here through this cat-cow. Take a peek towards that hip. Find that lateral bend in the spine. Again, still warming up. Take it to the other side. Look over that shoulder. Back and forth. And then we'll extend that right leg. Press through the heel. Start to stretch that calf and the bottom of the foot. We'll lift that leg up, keeping that hip wrapped towards the earth. Bring that that left arm up, and we can bend that back leg. And then see if you can float the arm towards the foot, or maybe you can actually connect them and press that foot into the hand. So I'm stretching into my left shoulder. Yesterday in our morning yoga zone class, we talked about shoulder mobility. So this would be another pose for shoulder mobility. I'm also getting a nice stretch down the quadricep, and I'm getting a little bit of a twist. So you could look over that left shoulder, twisting that spine slightly. Slowly release. See if you can control this on the way down. Reach out here, get really long, breathe in. Exhale, let's crunch into the center 3 times. One more. And extend. Breathe in, and then we'll send that left arm out to the side, right leg out to the side for this awkward pose. Lift with that right hip. Back to center. Keep that leg up. Bring this hand down. And then drop that leg right behind you. I'm going to take my left knee and pivot to make a little kickstand here into our side plank. So make sure that that shoulder is stacked right over the wrist. So variations here. You can keep this leg down for a kickstand. If that's too much, you could go down to the hip more and lift up here. You could also take that full side plank in various ways. So wherever you are, whatever you've chosen, lift up through that top hip. Maybe you want to raise that leg. Keep that arm stacked, the joint stacked. So here we could reach over the head as we inhale, and then exhale, we could crunch knee to elbow to deepen this a little bit more. Again, you have options here, but we are focusing a bit on that strong runner's core in this practice. Keep the breath moving. One more here. Extend out. We'll drop that hand back. Bring that knee in. And just shift so we can move to the other side. And then we extend that left leg back. Press through the heel. Reach that right arm out here. We bend up that left leg and then reach back. You could float hand towards foot, or maybe you can actually reach and then kick that foot into the hand. So getting a slight twist here on this side, feeling a quadricep stretch through the left leg, opening up that shoulder on the right. Breathe here. One more breath in, and then we release slowly and with control. Float arm and leg back to center. Breathe in, get really long, and then exhale 3 times to that center crunch. And then extend once again, big breath in. Exhale, let it out to the side. Left leg out to the side, right arm out to the side. Lift with that left hip. Back to the center, arm comes down, and that leg stays long. And then we pivot this right knee, so I'm going to have my back to you for a moment, and we can take it into that side plank on this side. So again, make sure that that arm is stacked, the joints of that arm are stacked, and we can take this into our side plank in whatever variation on this side. Take a breath in here if you want to add those crunches, and then we can bring elbow to knee. So wherever you are, if you're not adding those crunches, keep lifting through that top hip. Maybe you're feeling that the lower abdominals, those side abdominals, the obliques are firing up. If you're trying something else, just to show you what the other options are, maybe you're feeling like you're firing up the core here. So once you have finished your crunches, if that's what you've chosen, we'll bring that arm back down, return that leg to its own side. Find ourselves in the center here with our knees. And then we're going to walk those hands a little bit out ahead of us, tuck the toes, send those hips up to the sky for downward facing dog. Let's walk it out here. Stepping those feet, pressing those heels towards the mat. Really press those heels in. They don't have to touch, but just send them in the direction of the mat. Melt that heart towards the thighs. You could go way up on the toes or dip those knees down here. Shifting side to side, just explore this pose. Maybe you even want to walk those feet in closer to the hands, noticing how that changes the position of those heels. Noticing your ankle flexibility. And then back to that neutral downward facing dog. In your next breath, we lift that right leg up. Let's bend at the knee, open up that hip so that right foot is shining towards the left side. And then let's make some circles here with that hip. Both directions. Keep strong through the arms, not collapsing into one side. Inhale that leg all the way up. Exhale, crunch forward. Inhale, back up. Exhale, same side elbow. Inhale to the sky. Exhale, cross it over. Inhale up one more time. And then bring it through for low lunge on this side. Help your leg through if you need to. This is where I like to land on those blocks for a moment, just till I get myself aligned. So I have my front knee right over that ankle. Sink into that hip. You can shift that right hip back, left hip forward. Placing hands on the thigh, or maybe you sweep those arms up. Big breath in. Drop those shoulders away from the ears. Inhale up. Exhale, hands down to heart center. Next breath in brings that left elbow to the right leg, or near the right leg. You could help it across. You can always buffer with a block if you'd like. So you could stay right here. Maybe you want to start to deepen this twist, pressing those palms together so they meet at heart center, looking towards that top elbow. Feeling a big stretch through the thoracic spine. Option to bring that back knee off the earth, pressing through that back heel. One more breath here. If you brought that knee up, let's bring it down all the way back to center. We'll bring those hands to frame that front foot and then send those hips back into our half splits on this side. So again, use those blocks if you wish to bring that floor up to you, right down from the arms here. So I'm reaching the crown of my head out and then exhaling, folding down so that maybe I go deeper and I can lower those blocks. Folding here like a jackknife, so I'm not trying to hunch over. Keep that spine long. You could bring that left hand to those right toes. Excuse me, I have a tag. There we go. And just sink those hips straight back, so not dipping over to one side or the other. One more breath here. And then shift back forward. Take those blocks with you as we move into lizard pose. So those blocks are on the inside of that front foot. And I'm going to walk that front foot out to the side of the mat. You could stay right here in lizard pose. Hands can be on blocks at whatever level. Hands could be on the mat. Option to then roll to the outer blade of that front foot. Notice how that opens up. You might find that as you move into this hip opener, now you could certainly gently press that hip open, but you might find that that allows you to creep a little deeper towards the mat, either on those blocks or even all the way down. So you decide where you'd like to go. Maybe this is where you find your edge today. That place where we move into a little bit of discomfort, not pain. If there's any pain, please come out of the pose, try something different, take a break. But discomfort, that place where we can find growth and change if we visit that place enough. So a couple more options here. If you want to bring that off the earth, you could. You can also take this arm behind the back, opening up the chest on that right side. I've got this other arm planted firmly. So you can take any bits or pieces of this lizard pose that you wish. What do you need today? Where do you want to go today? This is your practice. You can challenge yourself. You can take a half of a breath in the new depth of this pose. One more breath here. And then slowly begin to bring it all down. Gently, slowly, mindfully walk that foot back into center. Frame that front foot. And then in your own time, we'll step that back leg up to meet the right foot. So let's hang here in this forward fold. If you have a block, you might place it under the hands, or you could just dangle. You could take opposite elbows if you wish. And we'll plant that left hand on the block or on the earth. Bend up that left knee. Anchor through that right heel. In your next breath in, bring that arm up. Let's rotate through that wrist. I almost said ankle. I've been doing headstands and handstands, so my feet are often over the top here. Open up big. And then exhale, float that hand down. And we'll move to the other side. So we bend up that right knee, press through the left heel. Inhale, left arm up, and rotate through that wrist both directions. Reach up, breathe in, and then float that arm all the way down. Let yourself hang. We're going to bend up those knees so that we can bring those hands to kiss the soles of the feet. So bringing those toes to wrist creases, wherever you can, give those knees a good bend. And then when you're ready, we'll start to straighten and bend those legs, moving with the breath. So notice how this is a full body stretch. I'm stretching my wrists, forearms, upper arms. I feel it across the upper back, my calves, hamstrings, glutes, lower back. I'm feeling it all kinds of places. So maybe you are too. Take that time to move slowly. And with the breath, noticing all of those places where you're feeling this stretch. Let that head hang heavy. Let's take one more bend and straighten here with the legs.
And then we'll release those hands. Bend the knees again, slowly roll up, stacking one bone of the spine on top of the other. Slowly roll up, slower than you want to go. Let those shoulders come back, let those arms follow. Sweep those arms up to the sky. Inhale, exhale those arms down, those hands down to heart center. You can take a moment here to pause in your mountain pose, Tadasana. Feet are just right under the hips. Maybe those hands are facing forward. You could close your eyes. Take a breath here. Come back to that intention. And then preparing to make our way down to the mat so we can take all of that on the other side. Let's sweep those arms up again on an inhalation. Exhale, swan dive down, keeping those knees a little soft. Inhale, halfway lift, flat back, roll shoulders back. Exhale, fold, plant those hands, and we'll take those feet back into your version of plank. You could also hop back if you're ready for that. Stay here, strong through the arms. Maybe you have knees down, maybe you're on your forearms. So wherever you are, we're going to take some knee taps. So even if you have those knees down, we can tap one and then the other. Again, challenging that core. Really press that heel back when you straighten that leg. Keep the breath moving. One more each side. And then find yourself in that plank, lower down, either knees, chest, chin, or shift forward and lower through Chaturanga Dandasana, that reverse push-up. When you arrive, bring yourself into that baby cobra. Maybe you're ready to go deeper into that up dog, so we lift those legs off the earth. Lower down as you exhale. Send those hips to the sky. Downward facing dog. Again, pedal it out. Dipping down with those knees, maybe going way up on the toes. Whatever you wish as you explore this pose once again. Melt that heart towards the thighs. Notice that stretch through the shoulders. When you're ready, we inhale that left leg up. Bend at the knee, open up that hip, and then make some circles here. Both directions. Extend that leg long, breathe in. Exhale, crunch forward to the center. Inhale up. Exhale to the same side, elbow back to the sky. Exhale across. Inhale up one more time. And then exhale, bring it through to that low lunge on this side. Help your leg if you need to. And then you decide where you're going to land. I'm just going to place myself on those blocks for stability. Catch my breath a little bit after those crunches. Front knee is right over the ankle. So if you are back here a little bit, see if you can sink forward. Shift that left hip back, right hip forward. We scissor those thighs for stability. Maybe you want to bring arms up. Breathe in. Drop shoulders away from the ears. Take another breath in here. Reach up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Your next breath in brings that right elbow to the left leg. You can help it across to go deeper. And then maybe you press those palms together, making their way to heart center, deepening that twist. Twisting through that thoracic spine. Looking at that upper elbow. Option to bring that back knee off the earth, stretching the hamstring, maybe the calf, the bottom of the foot. One more breath in here. And then we'll bring it all the way down, back to center. Take those blocks if you need them to shift back into that half split. Sink those hips straight back. Take your breath in. Exhale, keep that long spine. Reach the crown of that head forward, tucking that chin so we have a neutral neck. Maybe you grab for those left toes. That's an option. And then we'll shift forward towards that lizard pose. I have those blocks on the inside to begin. Walk that left foot out to the side of the mat. And then you could shift to the outer blade of that back foot. Again, maybe you want to stay here and just gently press that hip open. Can't see what I'm doing here. I'm just pressing that leg gently open. Maybe to then creep down to those blocks a little bit more, or even take those blocks out and allow yourself to try to creep down to the mat. And I have one arm that's on the mat and the other one's kind of dangling. So maybe you have a block under one. We're all proportioned differently and beautifully, so work with what you have. Option to bring that back knee off, pressing through that heel. And then one last piece here, you could bring that top arm, that left arm behind the back, opening up that chest, pectoral muscles. Keep the breath moving here. One more breath. And then slowly lower down. Bring that hand back to the center. Come up to those hands, and we'll start to walk that foot back in. Frame the front foot. When you're ready, we step that right foot up to meet the left, and let's hang here. So this time I invite you to bring those peace fingers to the big toes. If this doesn't work to get down like this, you can always keep blocks wherever you are. But if you want to go deeper, you could wrap those peace fingers around big toes. Take a breath in, and then exhale, let those elbows fall to the sides, bringing that head a little bit closer to the knees. You can keep those knees as soft or as bent as you want. Notice how this feels for the lower back. One more breath here. Release those hands. You can release those fingers. You can place those hands on the earth. We'll walk those feet out to the side of the mat. Start to drop those into a deep squat. If this is not for you today, you can always take that higher squat and that goddess squat. So you decide where you are. If you're ready to go straight down to seated, we'll meet you there eventually. So here I am in Milazzo or garland pose. So right now I'm hunched, so I'm going to open up, lengthen that spine. So I'll turn towards the front so you can see. I'm using my elbows to open the knees. That may not be in your practice today, but that's helping me to also lift out of this squat so that I can have that extended spine. Reaching the crown of the head up, rooting that tailbone, opening those collarbones, pulling into the spine. So deep squats here, good for digestion. This is also a good hip opener. If you want to go deeper, you could bring fist to palm or fist to fist. And that bottom does not have to touch the mat. Those heels do not, well, the bottom probably won't. The heels do not have to touch the mat. That's what I meant to say. You could place a block under your bottom if you're concerned about balance. So we have places where we can modify and give ourselves support as well. Take a couple more breaths here. If you can gently press those knees open. Take a moment, a couple of breaths. Revisit that intention. And then we'll gently let that go and move to a seated position here. So shake out those legs. Go ahead and bring those feet to fold in. Moving into our next pranayama or mindful breathing exercise. So this is a variation of alternate nostril breathing, but with breath retention. So we've done Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, in a couple of classes that I've offered over the last month. I'm not sure if we did it in this particular. So alternate nostril breathing is when we direct that breath back and forth between the nostrils. So it's that, plus we're going to hold the breath in between. So this pranayama is called Anuloma Viloma. So there's a ratio of an inhalation of 2 counts, breath retention of 8, and then an exhalation of 4. I'll keep track of the counts, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll guide you. We're going to start, everybody, with their right hand, so I won't mirror you here. We'll take our pointer finger and our middle finger, either fold them into your palm or bring them to the center of the forehead, so at that third eye there, just above the brow line. So either way. We're going to use that ring finger. Pinky finger can just kind of hang out there. All right, so I'll walk you through this before we begin. I'm going to close off my left nostril. I'm going to take a breath in for 2 counts through the left. Sorry, I'm closing off the right. Did I say that? In for 2 counts through the left. And I'm going to close off left, hold there, hold the breath, retain for 8 counts. And then I'm going to open right and allow that exhalation for 4 counts through the right nostril. Then I would inhale for 2 counts through the right, close off, retain for 8, and then I would open left and exhale for 4. So it's 2, 8, 4. You can extend that to 4, 16, 8. So the more you practice this, the more you can retain and build that lung capacity. So we start with the 2, 8, 4. We'll begin closing off that right nostril. Figure out where you want the pointer and the middle finger. Inhale here through the left, 1,
2, close off, hold here in the center, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open right, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale right, 1, 2, close off, hold in the center, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open left, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale left, 2, 1. Hold here as we close off, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open right, exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. So take that at your own pace. You can slow it down. You can double those numbers and take that slowly at your own pace. Finish this round that you're on with an exhalation through that left nostril where we began. You can always pick this up another time if you want to keep working on building. So once you're finished with that pranayama, again, it's called Anuloma Viloma. 2-8-4 is the ratio. You can double that, you can triple it, whatever you want to build up to build that lung capacity. From here, we'll then bring the soles of those feet together, bringing those knees wide, starting to stretch into the groin a little bit more and make our way down onto our backs eventually. So we inhale, lift up out of those hips, and then exhale, fold forward. Reach the crown of that head out as you breathe in. Exhale, melt the heart. You can rearrange those hands. Maybe you're cupping the toes or you're opening up those feet like a book. You could gently press those knees down as you hold to the ankles. So keep reaching the crown of that head forward. Again, with each breath in, exhale, melt down. Allow those knees to melt down to the earth. Notice if you can release any tension on that exhalation. One more breath here. We'll slowly release, come back up. Keep the soles of those feet together. Start to walk down to your back, keeping those knees wide. And from here, we'll move into our rope pull crunches. So imagining there's a rope between the knees. This is going to be work for the lower abdominals. So take a breath in here as you're lying flat. And then exhale as you pull up on that rope. So you can alternate hands, exhale, inhale, exhale. Try to keep that neck neutral so we're not really cranking it here. Maybe just looking up towards the sky like you're lifting that chest. Letting that rope guide you. Sometimes people like to creep, 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 and then slowly lower down. So just make sure you're staying with your breath. Wherever you are, use that breath. Two more here. And slowly lower down. Let's bring those knees together and then walk those feet about hip distance apart. We'll bring that right foot to cross over the left leg, arms into that T, moving into what I call the Pretzel Twist. I'm not sure where I got that name, but it just seems very pretzel-y to me. That is not Sanskrit. At some point, I will have to find a Sanskrit word for this pose. I'm sure one exists. So from the center here, we lift and shift those hips to the left. Take a breath in, and then exhale that right knee down to the right side, twisting towards the right. You can take your gaze over those left fingertips. Keep that right foot flexed. Notice this side body stretch, this twist. Notice if you're feeling it in the hips at all. Take that back to center. We lift and shift hips to the right. Breath in. And then exhale that right foot down to the left. Maybe noticing more of a hip stretch here on the right. Option to go deeper by bringing those feet, those toes in closer to the body, but then rest those shoulder blades back on the earth. So if you've been practicing with me for any amount of time, you know that this pretzel combination is one of my favorites. I don't do it for me. I do feel that it is a good hip stretch and a torso twist. So I like to incorporate that. It's a little bit different than some of the other twists that we do. And then if you took that bind, you can release. We'll bring those knees back to center and slide that right leg across the left. You could wrap that right foot around the left calf, but start to bring those feet off the earth. Take that right arm take the right arm on top of the left, bend at the elbows. You could take opposite shoulders or twist those arms into eagle arms. In your next breath, move hands and feet away from each other. Exhale, eagle crunches in towards the center. So we're getting a hip stretch here. We're stretching across the upper back, and we're working into that strong runner's core. One more. And slowly release with control. Bring those arms back to the T. Let's take those feet as wide as the mat and just switch those knees back and forth. And we'll take that to the other side. So walk those feet in hip distance apart. Left foot crosses over right leg just above the knee. Keep that left foot flexed. We lift and shift hips once again. Take a breath in. Exhale that left knee down to the earth on the left side. Looking towards those right fingertips. Noticing that big stretch through the right side body. Imagine all those little muscles between the ribs, those intercostal muscles getting a good stretch. One more breath here. And then bring those knees back to center. Cross of the legs, lift and shift hips to the left. Breath in at the center. Exhale that left foot down to the earth on the right side. We can take that gaze over the left fingertips. So again, side body stretch here on the left this time, maybe feeling it more through the left hip. Option to go deeper by reaching for those feet or those toes, pulling them in towards the body, resting the shoulder blades back down on the mat. And again, this is just an option. So if it's too much today, or maybe you can only take it on one side, that's okay. Whatever you are able to do, maybe this is your edge and you're bringing yourself here a little bit more frequently in your practice. You're breathing into the tension, letting that release. One more breath here. Exhale, let that bind go if you took it. Bring knees back to center. Center those hips. We'll slide that left leg across the right. You can wrap the left toes around the right calf, bringing those feet off the mat wherever you are. And then we scoop that right arm under the left. So whichever leg is on top is the arm that's on top. It's an easy way to remember it. We bend at the elbows, take opposite shoulders, or you can twist those arms up into eagle arms. Take a breath in as you reach hands and feet away from each other, and then exhale, crunch in. Take your time here, use your breath. Imagine those strong abdominal muscles. Just enjoying this stretch, enjoying this challenge. Crunching in, stretch out, expand here. And one more. And then slowly release with control, arms back to that T, feet as wide as the mat, and let's just swish those knees once again. And then we'll bring those knees back to center. Draw them towards the armpits here. Let's send the soles of those feet up to the sky, moving into your version of happy baby. So maybe you reach for calves, ankles, insides of the feet. I like to take peace fingers to big toes. I feel like I can get the most length there. So draw those knees into the armpits. Let those knees just sink in. And if you find that your tailbone comes off the earth here, see if you can slowly uncurl that spine, lay that tailbone down, and try to keep those shoulders on the mat. So I mentioned last night in our practice, sometimes we can't have it all. We're not meant to have it all. What I mean by that, So just keep stretching here as I'm talking. You can even rock back and forth. What I mean by that is in some of these poses, we're asked to do a number of things. And depending on the proportions of our bodies, again, we all have these wonderful, unique bodies, we may find that we need to choose one option over another. I always think of Warrior Two. Do you want an open knee, or do you want to go hips, turned more to one side? So whatever you're trying to get out of it, maybe it's important for you here to stretch your arms and really getting a good arm stretch, as I have those long fingers around toes. Maybe you want to get that long spine. Maybe you want to really get a hamstring stretch of some sort. So you decide what's most important for you, and that may change from day to day as well. But just knowing that you don't have to aim for any perfect shape. I don't even like to use that word in yoga. I don't think it serves us. Stretching one leg out and then the other. And then gently release those legs down. You can keep those knees to the sky. You can bring those knees wide once again. Moving into our last pranayama of our practice. This is our 3-part complete Durga breath. So really drawing our attention to our breath, getting ourselves ready for a deeper state of relaxation in Shavasana. One hand on the belly, the other hand either on the rib cage or even the chest. You decide where you'd like those 2 hands. Take a breath in, notice the belly rise, and then the rib cage expands and the chest goes up. As you exhale, pressing all that air out, preparing for the next clean breath, notice the belly goes down, the rib cage closes, and then the chest lowers. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, belly, ribs, chest. You may find it in a different order in your body. That is okay. Just follow 3 parts of your breath the best that you can. One more round of this 3-part complete Durga breath. And you can release those hands. Take any other stretches, poses, movements that you wish to complete your practice before we move into that final relaxation pose in Shavasana. Those legs go long. Maybe you keep them up to the sky or those knees wide. What would feel good to you? Breathing normally here, releasing into this stretch, taking these last couple of minutes for yourself. Gently bring your attention back to your space. And you're always welcome to extend this Shavasana as long as you wish. I'll guide our practice to a close, but know that you can stay there as long as you want. Maybe you take a full body stretch, or you bring those knees into the chest. Eventually making your way to one side of your mat. Take a breath there. When you're ready, we'll gently press up to a seated position. I invite you to bring your hands to heart center. Maybe you have those eyes closed. Let the base of those thumbs touch the chest. Notice each finger pressing into that on the other hand. No matter where you are on your journey, this week, this year, or in this whole lifetime, I thank you for pausing this morning to share this practice with me, with all of us. The light, love, and peace in me recognizes and honors the light, love, and peace in each and every one of you. Namaste. Thank you for coming to your mats. I hope you find a sense of gratitude today for making this time for yourself. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next week, Monday morning, for more yoga. Thank you. Be well.